Hello and welcome. It is March 9th, 2026, and exactly 4 hours ago in low Earth orbit, an event occurred that defies every textbook on orbital mechanics. Inside NASA's Mission Control in Houston, there is absolute silence. At Roscosmos headquarters, engineers are scrambling. Why? Because 3IATLAS, the object we believed was a comet, did not just pass by the International Space Station. The data confirms that 3IATLAS matched its velocity to exactly 27,600 km per hour and established physical contact with the ISS starboard trusses. Think about that for a moment. A comet traveling from millions of miles away cannot hit the brakes. It has no thrusters, it has no guidance system. Yet today, at 8:14 UTC, onboard accelerometers on the ISS registered a hard dock shock. This was not a random collision. This was a controlled maneuver. The probability of this being natural, less than 0.0001%. But it gets stranger. The report just transmitted by the ISS commander on an encrypted channel is chilling. The astronauts are hearing sounds. Now you might say, Michio, space is a vacuum. Sound cannot travel. And you are absolutely correct. Sound waves cannot exist in a vacuum. But these sounds are not coming from the outside air. These are vibrations traveling through the metallic hull of the station itself. The commander described it as a rhythmic metallic grinding, followed by heavy thuds like someone or something is trying to open the airlock from the outside. Picture this. You are floating 400 kilometers above the Earth, and you are inside a pressurized tin can, and outside an object that is 4.5 billion years old is knocking on your door. This is not science fiction. This is happening right now in March 2026, directly above our heads. The data I have in front of me. Spectroscopy readings from JWST and ground-based radar points to one terrifying conclusion. 3. IATLAS is not a comet made of ice and rock. Comets do not perform precise docking maneuvers. Comets do not transmit rhythmic signals. What we have been tracking may never have been a comet at all. In the next few minutes, I am going to show you the classified telemetry data that has just leaked. We will see how the laws of physics were broken to make this docking possible. And the most important question of all, if this object is intelligent, what does it want with the International Space Station? Because the sound frequency the astronauts are recording is not random noise. It is a code. So let's decode the data. March 9th, 2026, 4 a.m. UTC. Everything aboard the International Space Station was routine. The crew of Expedition 74 was asleep. The ISS was orbiting Earth at 27,600 km/h, 10 times faster than a speeding bullet. But then NASA's Deep Space Network in Goldstone, California, detected something impossible. SI-ATLAS, which just days ago was considered a harmless hyperbolic comet, suddenly altered its trajectory. In physics, we call this a delta V maneuver, a change in velocity. To change direction or speed in space requires energy. It requires force. Newton's first law of motion is clear. An object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an external force. Comets do not have engines. They do not have fuel tanks. But 3IATLAS challenged this law. Radar data shows that at 412 UTC, the object began to decelerate. Its speed dropped from 44 km/s down to match the ISS orbital speed, exactly 7.66 km/s. Pause and realize what this means. If you're driving on a highway at 100 mph and another car approaches you at 500 mph, it cannot park next to you. It would destroy you unless it has advanced braking propulsion far beyond our own. NASA flight dynamics officers initially thought this was a glitch. They rebooted the system, but the data remained. ESA and Germany checked their sensors. The same readings Roscosmos confirmed from Moscow. 3 independent agencies, different continents. Identical conclusion. 3IATLAS executed intentional braking at 8:14 UTC. External cameras on the ISS captured the visual. Imagine standing in the cupola module looking down at Earth. Suddenly, a massive shadow covers your solar arrays. This was no small rock. The estimated diameter of 3IATLAS is 1.2 kilometers. Compared to the ISS, it is a mountain. But instead of smashing the station into smithereens, 3IATLAS executed a soft capture. Sensor data, which has not been released to the public, indicates the object made contact with the ISS starboard truss segment. The S6 truss, where the solar arrays are located, impact velocity less than 0.2 ms, that level of precision. Human hands could not dock that smoothly without computer assistance. And then began the phenomenon that is shaking the scientific community. Thus, sounds, as I mentioned, space is a vacuum, but sound is vibration. When 3 grabbed or latched onto the ISS metal truss, it transferred physical vibrations. Astronauts reported feeling a dull thud. First, the entire station shuddered like heavy machinery starting up. Then the sounds began coming from inside the walls, scraping, grinding. In the leaked NASA audio analysis, you can clearly hear it. Clang, clang, clang. The frequency is perfectly regular, one metallic strike every 4 seconds. This is not random debris hitting the hull. Random objects do not have rhythm. This is a pattern. This is deliberate. The engineering team analyzes these vibrations as structure-borne noise. The sound travels from the object through the ISS metallic skeleton and into the modules where there is air becoming audible sound. But here's the scary part. The frequency is increasing. At 9 joules UTC, the gap was 4 seconds. At 10 o'clock UTC, the gap dropped to 3 seconds. Right now, as I record this, the gap is 1.5 seconds. Something is accelerating. NASA structure specialist Dr. Naim Red Medacted wrote in an internal memo, "The harmonic resonance suggests mechanical coupling." In simple terms, 3IATLAS is not just stuck to the station. It is integrating with it. It is locking on. Think about the engineering implications. A 2-kilometer object from deep space. How could it possess a docking mechanism compatible with our International Space Station? Or is it creating the mechanism? Micro cameras on the truss captured something disturbing. Where the contact occurred, the surface of 3IATLAS is shifting. The rock and ice are not melting. They are rearranging. Metallic tendrils, thin wire-like structures, are wrapping around the truss like a virus attacking a cell and attaching itself to inject its DNA. This is parasitic behavior. Now the question is, if this is a machine, if this is technology, what is its fuel source? And why does it want to connect to the ISS? Does it want our energy or our data? Because at 8:30 UTC, a power surge was detected on the ISS main computers. The station's batteries began to drain, but power does not disappear into a vacuum. It was going somewhere and the current flow reversed. The ISS was not generating power. 3IATLAS was siphoning power from the ISS. Wait, the numbers here are critical. The ISS generates roughly 120 kilodollars of power. Given the size of 3IATLAS, this amount should be nothing to it, a drop in the ocean. So why take it? Unless it is not using the power for fuel, it is using the power line to communicate. A spike was seen in the data stream. The current flowing back to the cables contained modulation, something like binary code, a barrage of zeros and ones. But this is not the computer code we use. The patterns are based on prime numbers. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. Mathematics, the universal language. Do you understand what this means? The thing stuck to the outside of the ISS, the thing terrifying the astronauts might be trying to talk to us, or it is hacking the system. Now, I'm going to tell you something that will blow your mind in Chapter 3, because the sounds and the power drain were just the beginning. The real anomaly is what the airlock sensors detected just 30 minutes ago. Physics says the magnetic seal between two different objects cannot be perfect without pre-planning. But 3IATLAS has created a vacuum-tight seal, and the commander has reported that outside the airlock, they can hear movement, not mechanical grinding, but footsteps on the hull. Can you hear footsteps in a vacuum? No, unless those footsteps are impacting directly on the hull. Let's see how physics explains this impossible phenomenon, and if someone or something is actually trying to get inside. Looking at the data in front of me, it is becoming difficult to believe the laws of physics as we know them. March 9, 2026. Moments ago, sensors on the International Space Station detected a new anomaly that defies explanation. When two spacecraft meet in space, like the Crew Dragon and the ISS, they must create a hard seal to dock. Metal must join metal so air does not leak. This requires complex mechanisms, latches, bolts, gaskets, But 3IATLAS had no docking port. It was a rock, a comet. So the question is, how did it create a vacuum-tied seal? The data shows that at the contact point near the S6 truss, the material of 3IATLAS has changed. The ice and dust are gone. They have been replaced by a metallic substance behaving like a liquid ferrofluid. Imagine bringing a magnet close to iron filings. How do the filings take shape? In exactly the same way, 3IATLAS has molded itself to the shape of the ISS hull, a perfect fit at the molecular level. This is programmable matter. In physics, we talk theoretically about materials that can change shape on command. But this is not theory. This is happening above our heads right now. 30 seconds. Atlas has fused with the ISS metal without welding, without heat, cold fusion bonding. And this bonding is not just physical, it is acoustic. This is why the astronauts are hearing those sounds, footsteps. Now I want you to consider this. Sound does not travel in a vacuum. But if an object is walking directly on the hull, vibrations travel through the metal and become sound waves in the air inside. The footsteps the commander reported were not random impacts. They were rhythmic, thump, thump, thump. But here's where physics takes an impossible turn. ISS sensors detected that these impacts are heavy. In space, there is no weight, only mass. If something strikes the hole, it must follow Newton's third law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If you push the hole, you fly backward. Unless you have magnetic boots, but no magnetic field was detected on the surface of 3IATLAS before. So where did this magnetic adhesion come from? The answer lies in data leaked just 15 minutes ago. ISS magnetometers recorded a sudden spike. A powerful electromagnetic field is being generated from inside 3IATLAS. But it is not a static field. It is pulsing like a beating heart, one pulse every 1.5 seconds. And this pulse is not just affecting magnetometers. It is interfering with ISS systems. Lights are flickering. Life support systems are rebooting. But the most dangerous part is this pulse is a carrier wave. It contains information. When we analyzed this frequency, we didn't find noise. We found a pattern, a complex geometric pattern, fractals. Fractals are common in nature, snowflakes, coastlines, trees, but perfect mathematical fractals in an electromagnetic signal. The Mandelbrot set that cannot be natural. This means 3 is not just a rock, it is a container or perhaps a probe. And now the biggest shock inside the ISS airlock sensors indicate that external pressure is rising. Pressure in space is 0. But near the contact point of 3IATLAS, a local atmosphere is being created. Gas is being released. Spectroscopy confirms this gas is a mixture of nitrogen and oxygen. Wait, pause here. Nitrogen and oxygen. This is the air we breathe, Earth's atmosphere. Why would a comet from deep space release an Earth-like atmosphere unless it knows who is inside, unless it knows what we need to survive? This is not an attack. This is a compatibility check. SAN-IATLAS is creating an environment so it can open up because just now at 9:45 UTC, a new sound was recorded. Not footsteps, not grinding. It is a hydraulic hiss, like a door breaking its seal. The astronauts are now floating in 0G on the other side of the airlock, listening. They are listening to who is accessing their safe haven, their station from the outside. And the data I just received shatters every law of physics. Thermal cameras detected a heat signature outside the airlock. Space is minus 207 degrees C, but the temperature outside the airlock is 37 degrees C. 37 degrees C. That is the temperature of the human body. But there is no astronaut outside. No Space W walk was scheduled. So whose heat signature is that? Is there something alive inside 3IATLAS, or is it machine heat mimicking biology? In the next chapter, we will find out what the sensors saw when the airlock pressure equalized, because the thing that is about to come inside will change our reality forever. The time has come to show you what you started this video for. The data I have now, NASA tried to classify it, but that is no longer possible. So far, I've told you how 3IATLAS broke the laws of physics, docked with the ISS, and created an Earth-like atmosphere. But all of that was just preparation. The real bomb is about to drop. At exactly 10:15 UTC, something happened that brought absolute silence to the mission control room. The ISS airlock sensors reported that pressure had equalized. The vacuum outside was no longer a vacuum. 3IATLAS had created a perfect seal around the airlock. And then the outer door of the airlock, which can only be opened if from the inside or via manual override during a space W walk, began to cycle. Someone or something was operating the airlock. Wait, let that sink in. Airlock controls are complex. They required training to operate. They require human hands, but cameras did not see a human outside and they saw nanofibers. The video feed that has just leaked clearly shows silver threads looking like liquid mercury wrapping around the airlock's manual valve. This is the same material that grasped the ISS hull earlier, but now it is moving with intelligence. It is turning the valve anti-clockwise, 1 full rotation, 2 full rotations, and then the outer hatch opened. Now only the ISS inner hatch separates the astronauts from that unknown entity. But the real shock isn't that the door opened. The real shock is what the sensors detected inside the airlock once it opened. Biology. Yes, biology. Life support systems detected organic molecules inside the airlock. But this wasn't simple bacteria or space dust. These were complex amino acids, the building blocks of DNA. And their structure matches Earth-based DNA. 19 Oento. Think about what this means. An object that came from interstellar space that traveled light years to get here is carrying our own DNA. How is this possible? There are only 2 possibilities. Either life started here on Earth and spread to space, the panspermia theory, or 3IATLAS is our past or our future. But the story doesn't end there because a new sound is now coming from inside the airlock, not the mechanical grinding from before. This rhythm is different. It is a heartbeat. Sensors picked up the audio. Thump, 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 6 beats per minute, exactly like a resting human heart. The commander reported to Houston, something is inside the airlock and it's alive. Now, right now, the astronauts are armed. Emergency protocols are active in the Russian module, but they are not attacking because they want to know what that thing is. And then at 10:20 UTC, a signal was transmitted from inside the airlock, not on radio frequency, on the laser communication system directly towards Earth. An image. When NASA decoded that image, they were stunned. It wasn't an alien map, it wasn't a mathematical equation, it was a photograph of a human. But this human wasn't from today. He looked prehistoric or futuristic. His features resembled ours, but with perfect symmetry. And in his eyes, stars were reflecting. And beneath that image was an embedded text string written in binary. When translated, it meant the same thing in English, Russian, Chinese, every language. We have returned. Who said this return? From where are we alone in this universe? The answer to that question is now no. But the new question is, are we who we think we are? Because if 3IATLAS carries DNA like ours, and they say we have returned, it means Earth was their home, and perhaps we are their descendants, or they are our creators. Now in the final chapter, we will see what the ISS crew decided to do. Will they open the inner hatch? Will they meet this visitor? Or will they abort the mission and return to Earth? Because just now, there was a knock on the inner hatch, 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. 10:25 UTC. The final updates I've received will leave you stunned. The inner airlock hatch is still closed. The crew has orders not to open it, but from the outside, those knocks continue. 3 knocks, then silence, then 3 knocks. This is not the work of a machine. This is consciousness. This is intelligence. And the last data packet the ISS transmitted contains something that could rewrite all of human history. NASA decoded the coordinate data that came with a "we have returned" message. Not GPS coordinates, galactic coordinates, a star map. But when astronomers superimposed that map over our known universe, it didn't match. The constellations were different. The positions of the stars were slightly shifted. Why? Because that map wasn't from today. Computer simulations showed that the map depicts the stars around Earth, but from 65 million years ago, the time of the dinosaur extinction. Do you understand the implication? 3IATLAS is not an alien invasion force. It is not a new threat. It is a time capsule or perhaps an ark. The species piloting the ship, the ones with our DNA, perhaps they fled Earth when the asteroid hit. They survived in space, they evolved, and now they have come home. But the biggest question remains, why have they returned? Do they want their planet back or have they come to warn us? Because sensors on 3IATLAS detected something in Earth's atmosphere. Carbon levels, rising temperatures, the things we are doing. And their message wasn't just, "We have returned." There was one more line not released to the public until now. The cycle is ending. What cycle? An extinction cycle, a civilization cycle. Right now, at this very moment, the ISS commander has his hand on the airlock manual override lever. He has decided to disobey orders. He is going to open the hatch because if there is an ancestor outside or our future self, we have to meet them. The camera feed is live and the lever is turning. Pressure is equalizing. The inner hatch is slowly opening and the smoke is clearing. A silhouette is visible, a human shape, but behind it, a light that is blinding. And just as the figure reaches out its hand, the video cuts, signal lost, mission control offline. But one final audio transmission was recorded. Just 2 words, "Welcome home." Did we say that or did they? Sun Atlas is now part of the ISS and we are not alone anymore.